I don't know what possessed me. Maybe it was the second beer. Maybe it was that awkward kind of silence that falls between two strangers when the conversation gets honest too fast. Maybe I was just trying to be funny. Charming. Chill. Something. But I said it. I asked if she was pregnant. And she wasn't. We were at this tiny bistro Cindy had picked. Not the Cindy from the Venmo incident, different Cindy, and yes, I should really stop dating women with the same name. The place had soft lighting, a waiter who checked in way too often, and music that sounded like someone crying into a flute. She wore a black dress, not flashy, but it suited her. Her curls kept falling into her face when she laughed, and I remembered reading in her profile that she taught second grade. I thought that was sweet. I said it sounded exhausting. She said it was the best kind of chaos. Somewhere between the main course and dessert, some lemon tart she barely touched, she told a story about a kid in her class who'd drawn a picture of her looking like a fat son. And I somehow laughed, pointed vaguely toward her stomach, a gesture I regretted instantly, and said, "Well, maybe the kid was onto something." "Are you?" She blinked. Once. Then not at all. The silence wasn't awkward. It was clinical. Sterile. A scalpel. "Excuse me," she said. And in that moment, I wanted to be swallowed by the floor. Oh God, no. I didn't mean, I wasn't saying, I just meant, like, because of the dress, and the tart, and the... You thought I was pregnant? No. I thought you were. I don't know what I thought. She leaned back. Folded her hands in her lap. The waiter approached, saw our faces, and immediately walked away. "You know," she said, "I thought we were having a pretty good night." "We are." "We were. I'm just socially dyslexic." "That's not an excuse." I nodded. "You're right." She looked at me, long and hard. Not angry. Just disappointed. And that was worse. "You know how often I get that?" she asked. I know. Elevators. Work. The bus. Always the same question, always the same look. Like my body needs to explain something. I didn't say anything. I wanted to tell her she was beautiful. That it wasn't about how she looked. But that would have been a lie. Or selfish. Or just another way to make it about me. "I should go," she said. And started to stand. "Please don't." "Why?" "Because, that was the dumbest thing I've said in months. And I know that's not a reason, but I don't want this to end like that. Not like this." She looked at me. Then at the tart. Then back at me. "Okay," she said. "One more drink. No body talk. No excuses. Just, normal. However good you are at that." I nodded. Grateful. Embarrassed. Small. I'm actually pretty decent at normal. When I'm not actively imploding. "Great," she said. "Cheers to that." Later, as she sipped a glass of wine and told me about her students, one who always writes his name backwards, another who thinks dogs can fly if they believe hard enough, I thought, maybe this is it. Maybe this is the part where you don't run. Maybe you just sit with it, look someone in the eye, and really try to be human. The weirdest part about screwing up a first date that badly is what comes after the apology. Like, okay, you said the dumb thing, she called you on it, you both decide, against all odds, to keep going. But then what? Are you supposed to reset? Pretend it didn't happen? Acknowledge it with every breath? Cindy took a sip of her wine and looked out the window. "I once had a guy tell me I had fertile energy," she said. I choked slightly on my drink. "Please tell me you got up and walked out." She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. I laughed. Nervously. Then excused myself to the bathroom and never came back. I winced. "That's fair." She nodded. But this time, I stayed. "Why?" Cindy shrugged. Because you looked like someone who actually knew they messed up. Most guys get defensive. You looked mortified. I was. I still don't know if I should have stayed, though. That part hit. Because she wasn't being cruel, just honest. And somehow, that was worse. We walked out of the bistro around 9. The night was cold in that early spring way, like the air couldn't decide if it wanted to bite or bloom. She wrapped her coat a little tighter. I offered to walk her to her car. She didn't answer right away. I don't drive, she said finally. Subway's a block away. I'll walk you. Cindy looked at me sideways. You're not trying to recover points, are you? Honestly? I don't think I have any left to earn. That made her laugh, just a little. At the station, we stood near the turnstiles. Her train wasn't due for another 4 minutes, and there was that strange pause. Are we hugging? Saying thanks? Pretending we'll never talk again? Hey, I said, before I could talk myself out of it. For what it's worth. I didn't mean to make you feel like your body was a punchline. Cindy studied me for a second. Then what did you mean? I think I was trying to connect. Badly. Like, you were being funny, and I wanted to be funny too, but instead I reminded you of every stranger who's ever made you feel unsafe. And I hate that. Because that's not the guy I want to be. The train screeched in the distance. She gave a small nod. Okay. Just that. She stepped forward, gave me a quick hug, firm, impersonal, but still, real. Then she was through the gate, down the stairs, and gone. I stood there for a minute. Maybe 2. Then I walked home. Later that night, I texted her. Hey. Thank you for not walking out. I'm sorry again. And if you ever want to try again, less foot in mouth, more actual listening, I'd be up for that. I didn't expect a reply. But I sent it anyway. The next day was quiet. I kept checking my phone, though I told myself I wouldn't. I worked from home, half watching the cursor blink on a project that was due last week. I microwaved leftover pasta. I went on Instagram and unfollowed 3 accounts that made me feel like I wasn't enough. At 8:43 p.m., she replied. That was a disaster. But also kind of honest. Let me think about it. And for some reason, that felt like the kindest thing anyone had said to me in months. The thing is, I've always had this tendency to perform. To try and win people over with cleverness, self-deprecation, relatability. But at some point, all those layers turn into a costume. And I think Cindy saw through it in 10 minutes. It's disarming, being seen like that. Even more disarming when someone stays. That weekend, I visited my sister. She lives across the river with her husband and their 2-year-old son, Leo. The apartment is always loud, always warm, always smells like baked something. Is it true you asked a woman if she was pregnant on a first date? She said as soon as I stepped through the door. I groaned. Devin told you? He sent a meme. Of course he did. She handed me a glass of juice and raised an eyebrow. You're lucky she didn't throw it at you. I know. What were you thinking? I wasn't. I was reacting. Trying to be quick. Or funny. Or charming? I sighed. Yeah. She softened. You always think being liked means being clever. Sometimes it just means being kind. Leo toddled into the room, holding his spoon upside down like it was a sword. My sister scooped him up and kissed the top of his head. I watched her and thought about what Cindy had said. About how often she'd been made to feel like her body was a question to answer. Or worse, an apology. And I realized I'd never thought about that. Not really. And that was the problem. That night, I opened my notes app. Wrote. It's not about being right. It's about not making someone else feel wrong just for existing. The worst mistakes come from trying too hard to be good at something you don't understand. She stayed. That means something. It has to. Cindy texted me on Tuesday. Coffee? Thursday afternoon? I stared at the message for a full minute before responding. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because my brain short-circuited trying to decipher the tone. Friendly? Cautious? Open-ended? I replied. I'd like that. You pick the place. You're not allowed to comment on anything physical, by the way. Not even the weather? Only if it's metaphorical. Deal. She chose a coffee shop near a bookstore. Wood tables, hanging plants, light jazz playing like it was on tiptoe. I got there early and picked a seat near the window. The light made everything look honest. Cindy walked in wearing a denim jacket and that same kind of expression from the other night, alert, unreadable, composed. Hi, she said, sliding into the seat opposite me. Hi. We ordered. Hers, oat milk cappuccino. Mine, black coffee, because I couldn't handle the pressure of choosing something with foam. Thank you, I said. For what? For giving me another shot. After, you know. She smiled without showing her teeth. One thing I've learned teaching 8-year-olds is that sometimes you have to see what someone does after they mess up. That's reassuring. I think. You're on thin ice. But the ice is holding. We talked about everything but what happened. Our families. Where we grew up. How she spent half her 20s living with a roommate who collected antique dolls and whispered to them after midnight. My rent was cheap, she shrugged. I made peace with it. I told her about my roommate in college who believed microwaves caused memory loss and would write things on the wall in dry erase marker just to be safe. She laughed. Really laughed. And I thought, maybe this is what starting over looks like. Not a blank slate, just someone willing to read past page 1. After an hour, she asked, so why dating apps? I exhaled. Because bars make me anxious, and I have a weird fear of meeting people through friends. Like, what if it doesn't work out and I ruin someone's birthday party for the next 5 years? She tilted her head. That's specific. My social anxiety is detail-oriented. She laughed again. Then said, you ever been in love? That one caught me off guard. I thought I was. Twice. Maybe 3 times. But looking back, I think I was just in love with how it felt to be needed. Cindy nodded slowly. That's a tough one to unlearn. I sipped my coffee. What about you? She looked down at her cup. Once. Real love. It ended slowly. Quietly. Like someone turning down the volume until I couldn't hear it anymore. I didn't say anything. Because I knew that sound. I'd lived it, too. We sat there in the silence of that mutual knowing. And it didn't feel awkward. It felt like something being stitched, carefully, from both sides. On the way out, she paused. Next time, I pick the place and the topic. There's going to be a next time? If you keep the metaphors coming, sure. I watched her disappear into the late afternoon crowd. My heart did this thing, quiet, small, but certain. And for once, I didn't overanalyze it. That night, I made dinner and didn't screw it up. I called my sister and asked how Leo was doing. She was surprised I'd remembered his speech therapy appointment. He said truck today, she told me. Not tuck. Clear as day. Tell him I'm proud of him. You never say that to me. Because you say it to yourself twice a day. True, she said, laughing. But still. Before bed, I opened the Notes app again. Maybe healing isn't loud. Maybe it's 2 people drinking coffee, not flinching, and saying just enough. You don't get to erase page 1. But you can still write something worth reading. The next time we met, Cindy brought a board game. Game night for 2, she said, holding up a battered box that looked like it had lived through at least a dozen passive-aggressive family holidays. Scruples? I asked, reading the title. It's like Truth or Dare but less chaotic. Moral dilemmas. Hypotheticals. Good awkward fun. Of course you'd bring a game that turns people into ethics professors. She grinned. Better than another dinner where you try to make small talk about your complicated relationship with your dad. Low blow. Accurate, though. We played it in my apartment, sitting cross-legged on the floor with Thai takeout between us. The game came with a deck of cards. Each one had a what would you do scenario, stuff like, you find a wallet on the street with $200 in it. Do you turn it in? Or your friend's partner flirts with you. Do you tell? I feel like this is how therapists haze each other, I said, picking a card. Cindy raised an eyebrow. That sounds like the plot of an indie drama. I read mine aloud. You witness a stranger steal a bottle of baby formula at a grocery store. Do you alert the staff? Do you? She asked. I paused. Honestly? No. I'd probably pretend I didn't see it. If someone's stealing baby formula, they probably need it more than that store needs the $8. She nodded, slowly. I agree. You sound surprised. Just, not everyone's so clear about that kind of stuff. What about you? I asked. Ever done something you knew was technically wrong but still felt right? Her face changed, just a flicker, something behind the eyes. When I was 19, she said slowly, my older sister got into a huge fight with our parents. Screaming, slammed doors, the whole cliché. I drove her to her boyfriend's place that night. Lied about where she was for 2 weeks until they cooled off. Wow. She was safe. But yeah, I lied. And they found out. Didn't talk to me for almost a month. That must have sucked. She shrugged, but it was forced. Family's complicated. A beat of silence passed between us. Then she pulled the next card. You're invited to your brother's wedding. You weren't invited to his last one. Do you go? I laughed. But it came out more like a sigh. Wow. That hit close. Really? I nodded. My brother didn't show up to mine. Cindy blinked. You're kidding. Nope. Had a panic attack the night before. Never boarded the plane. Texted me 20 minutes before the ceremony. Oh my God. Yeah. It was complicated. He was going through some stuff, and we've always had a rocky dynamic. But, yeah. I said it was okay. But it never really was. Do you talk now? We exchange birthday texts. That's about it. She didn't say anything for a while. Then. You're still hurt. Yeah. I guess I thought forgiveness meant pretending it didn't happen. And now? I don't know. I think I want to stop pretending. We packed up the game eventually. The takeout boxes were empty, and the room was dark except for the glow of a single lamp. Thanks, she said. For what? For being open. It's not easy. I'm still not great at it. You're better than most. I walked her to the door. She lingered. I'm glad I stayed that night, she said, voice low. Me too. We didn't kiss. Not yet. But something passed between us undeniable, like the click of a lock turning. That weekend, my mom called. Are you seeing anyone? She asked, 5 minutes into the call. I might be. Oh. And what's she like? She's smart. She makes me think about things I've never thought about before. She doesn't let me get away with being half honest. Well, she said after a pause, that sounds like someone who's good for you. Just don't mess it up. I didn't respond right away. Because, really, that was the question, wasn't it? Could I stop messing things up? That night, I found the old box of wedding photos I hadn't looked at in years. Dug it out of the closet like an old secret. One shot stood out, my brother's empty chair at the front row. Everyone smiling around it. No one acknowledging it. I held that photo for a long time. Then I opened my phone. Found his contact. Typed. Hey. Random, but. I looked at some wedding photos tonight. Missed having you there. Hope you're doing okay. I didn't hit send. Not yet. But the draft stayed open. And that felt like progress. Cindy came over that Thursday. She brought cookies in a plastic bag filled with mismatched socks. I tried doing laundry last night, she said, and somehow ended up with more socks than I started with. Congratulations, I said, stepping aside to let her in. You've entered the sock multiverse. We made tea. It was raining in that slow, whispery way that makes you feel like the sky is thinking about crying but hasn't quite decided yet. My apartment felt smaller with her in it, but warmer, too. Any updates on your brother? She asked as she settled into the couch. I hesitated. I wrote a text, I said. Didn't send it. Cindy nodded. That still counts for something. Does it? It's better than pretending you don't care. We sipped tea. Outside, a car honked, long and annoyed. Somewhere down the hall, someone sneezed with a kind of theatrical gusto. Do you ever wonder if we're all just walking around with half-finished sentences in our heads? She asked. I blinked. Like, things we meant to say but never did? Yeah. Or things we said badly. The words we wish we could resend, like emails, you know? I nodded slowly. I have entire archives of unsent moments. She smiled. Same. Later, we put on a movie. Not one of those meaningful, indie things. Just something dumb and funny where people fall in love after spilling coffee or bumping into each other at the farmer's market. Halfway through, she shifted a little closer. I didn't move. We sat like that, close but not touching, for 10, maybe 15 minutes. Then she turned to me. Can I ask something? Always. That night, our first date. After you said it. When I said I should go, why did you ask me to stay? I thought about it. Because I knew if you left, that would be it. Not just the date, but something bigger. Like, some part of me would go with you. And I didn't want that. She looked at me, eyes unreadable. Even though we barely knew each other? Especially because of that. Her lips parted slightly, as if she were about to say something. But instead, she turned back to the screen. The couple on TV was kissing under fake rain. Everything looked scripted. Easy. Cindy whispered, I hate how movies make it seem like it's always the right moment. I didn't say anything. Because she was right. After the movie, we stood at the door. I didn't know if she'd stay over. We hadn't crossed that line yet. Something about us still felt too fragile, like new skin over an old wound. She looked up at me. I should go, she said, softly. Okay. A pause. I want to kiss you, I said. But I don't want to do it just because it feels like the place in the story where that's supposed to happen. Cindy blinked. Once. Then smiled, small and tired. Good. Because I don't want that either. We didn't kiss. She left. The door clicked shut behind her. And weirdly, I didn't feel rejected. I felt respected. That weekend, I saw my brother's name pop up on my phone. Missed call. No voicemail. Just the name. I stared at it for 5 minutes. My thumb hovered over the screen. Then I opened the message I'd written days ago, tweaked a word or two, and hit send. 5 seconds later, regret punched me in the gut. But 10 minutes after that. Thanks for saying that. I'd been thinking about it too. We should talk sometime. No apology. No explanation. But it was a start. I stared at the reply for a while, feeling everything and nothing all at once. Then I texted Cindy. He replied. She answered almost immediately. I'm proud of you. Not because he replied. But because you finally said something real. I sat with that for a while. And for once, didn't try to fill the silence. That night, I wrote in my notes app again. We think we're waiting for the right moment. But sometimes, the moment is waiting for us. You don't have to say everything. Just enough for someone to stay. Cindy didn't text me the next day. Or the day after. It wasn't unusual, we weren't in that everyday rhythm yet. But still, her silence pressed down like a weighted blanket. The kind that's supposed to be comforting but ends up reminding you just how heavy things can get. I didn't want to be the one who always reached out. Not because of pride, but because I needed to believe that whatever was building between us wasn't just gravity on my side. But on Sunday morning, I caved. Morning. Hope your weekend's been gentle. Gentle. I chose that word carefully. It felt like her. She responded 4 hours later. It has. Took my niece to the zoo. Saw a flamingo fight. Surprisingly intense. Do flamingos make sounds when they fight? Like angry wind chimes. And just like that, the weight lifted. We met up that afternoon. A bookstore cafe again, neutral ground. She was already there when I arrived, flipping through a paperback, coffee in one hand, hair pulled into a messy bun that made her look like someone who knew exactly who she was. You look calm, I said, sliding into the chair across from her. She looked up. I feel centered. I think. That's rare. Don't ruin it. I held up my hands in surrender. We sat for a while without pressure. No agenda. Just shared space. Then she closed her book and asked, "Do you ever think about the way things echo?" I tilted my head. Like sound? No. Emotionally. Like, you say something dumb once, and it echoes. Sometimes for years. I nodded. Yeah. I live in that echo chamber. Me too, she said. Sometimes I hear things I said 5 years ago and want to write apology notes to the air. I think that's just being a decent person. Or an overthinker. Why not both? She smiled, but it faded fast. I've been thinking about what you said. About your brother. I stiffened, just slightly. I didn't mean to pry, she added. I've been there. Sort of. With my mom. I raised an eyebrow. She missed my graduation, Cindy said. Not because she was sick or traveling. Just, forgot. My chest tightened. Damn. Yeah. It was community college. Nothing flashy. But I still bought a dress. Practiced my walk across the stage. And she just didn't show. I wanted to say something comforting. But I knew better. What happened after? I asked. We didn't talk for almost a year. Then one day she called and asked if I wanted to come over for dinner. No apology. No explanation. Just chicken and rice like nothing had ever happened. And you went? I did. And for a long time, I told myself it was strength. That I was being the bigger person. But now. She trailed off. But now? I think I was scared that if I didn't forgive her, I'd have to admit she hurt me. Silence. Deep. Weighty. Honest. I think we both do that, I said quietly. She nodded. We didn't talk much after that. Just sat with our drinks, the echo of old wounds bouncing between us like invisible smoke. That evening, we walked aimlessly through the park nearby. Leaves crunched under our shoes. A couple passed us, laughing loudly, arms tangled like teenagers. Cindy slowed. Can I ask you something? Always. Why are you still single? I didn't answer right away. I used to think it was because I wasn't ready. That I was too busy, too damaged, too whatever. But lately, I think maybe it's because I've been waiting for someone to see me. Like, really see me. Not the version I present. The real one. Cindy stopped walking. Looked at me. Have I seen you? I swallowed. Yes. More than anyone has in a long time. She nodded. Same. We didn't kiss. Again. Instead, she took my hand. Just held it. Nothing more. And somehow, that meant more than anything else could have. Later, I sat in bed with my phone. My brother had replied to my message 3 days ago. I hadn't followed up. Fear, maybe. Or inertia. But tonight, I typed. I'm around if you want to talk. No pressure. Just, whenever. This time, I hit send. And for once, didn't brace for impact. I wrote one last note before sleeping. Maybe healing isn't about fixing everything. Maybe it's just about holding the pieces with someone who doesn't flinch. The next time Cindy came over, it was raining again. Real rain this time, not the poetic kind. Just relentless, steady, roof-drumming rain. She showed up at my door soaked through her denim jacket, hair dripping, cheeks pink from wind. You look like a romantic subplot, I said. She shook her head. I look like a public service announcement for umbrellas. I handed her a towel. She stepped out of her shoes. Her socks were mismatched again. Same sock multiverse? I asked. Expanded universe, she said. Now featuring holes. She changed into one of my sweatshirts while I made tea. It swallowed her whole and made her look small in a way I wasn't used to seeing. Not fragile. Just quiet. Something about it made me nervous. She curled up on the couch, knees to chest. I sat beside her. We watched the rain. No TV. No music. Just water and breath. After a while, she said, "What would you do if I stopped talking to you tomorrow?" I looked at her. Where's that coming from? I don't know. Sometimes I disappear. When things start to matter. When people get too close. I swallowed. You thinking about disappearing? She shook her head. No. But the thought crossed my mind. Briefly. Just long enough to scare me. I nodded. I get that. Do you? Yeah. I'm the king of pulling back right when something starts to feel real. I once broke up with a woman because she bought me socks. Cindy blinked. That's specific. They were really nice socks. She laughed, but it was soft. Barely there. Why'd you end it? Because I thought, if she knows my sock size, she could know the rest of me. And that freaked me out. Cindy looked down. It's weird, isn't it? The things that scare us most aren't always the big ones. It's not the love. It's the knowing. And being known. Yeah. She reached for my hand. Held it loosely. I'm not going to disappear, she said. Good. I don't want to vanish either. We sat there a while longer. The tea went cold. A few days later, my brother called. For real, this time. His voice was cautious, low. We talked about dumb things at first. Sports. Work. Weather. The way people talk when they're afraid to say the one thing that matters. Finally, he said, I should have been at your wedding. I didn't say anything. Then, I was a mess. But that's not an excuse. I didn't show up. And I'm sorry. I exhaled. Not dramatically. Just long. Like I'd been holding it since that day. Thanks, I said. That means something. Silence. I didn't know how to reach out after, he said. Neither did I. Think we could. I don't know. Try again? I looked out the window. The street was wet. Reflections everywhere. Yeah, I said. We can try. That night, I told Cindy. She didn't say much. Just listened. Really listened. No interruption. No advice. When I was done, she leaned into me and whispered, You did something brave. I don't feel brave. That's how you know you are. We kissed for the first time then. Not dramatic. Not desperate. Just honest. Like an answer to a question we hadn't dared to ask yet. We spent the night together. Fell asleep tangled and warm. At some point in the dark, she whispered, "I like you more than I should." I whispered back, "Same." In the morning, we didn't rush. She made coffee while I sat at the table, barefoot and dazed. She slid a cup toward me and asked, "Do you want this to be something?" And I said, "It already is." Later, I opened my notes app. Sometimes the question isn't "Do you love me?" but "Can I trust you with the parts of me I don't show?" Being known is the scariest kind of intimacy. But maybe it's the only kind worth wanting. Everything felt lighter for a while. That's the best way I can describe it. Not dramatic. Not fireworks. Just this quiet sense of lightness. Like I could breathe a little deeper. Laugh without double-checking if it was okay. Say things without rehearsing them first. Cindy came over more often. Left things behind: hair ties, a toothbrush, one sock, always just one. She took up space, in the best way. My apartment smelled more like lavender and less like neglect. My fridge had actual food. One night, she made pasta and burned it. "I never claimed to be domestic," she said, fanning smoke with a magazine. "I'm just glad you tried," I said. "It smells nostalgic." For what? Arson? We ordered pizza instead. Ate it on the floor. Watched dumb videos. Laughed so hard my stomach hurt. I remember thinking, this could be it. Nodded as in the answer to everything. But a thing. A beginning. Something soft that didn't ask me to prove I was worthy of love before offering it. And then the quiet got loud again. It was a Wednesday. A normal one. We had plans for dinner, but she texted late afternoon. "Hey, can we rain check? Work is a mess. I just need to be alone tonight." Totally fine. Normal. Healthy, even. I replied, "Of course. Take what you need. I'm here." But something about it unsettled me. Maybe because I've heard I need space used as an exit ramp before. Or maybe because I'd finally let myself believe she was permanent, and any shift in pattern felt like a crack in the wall. That night, I couldn't sleep. I thought about all the times I'd made someone else carry my silence. How many relationships I'd watched collapse under the weight of words I didn't say. I didn't want that to happen here. But I also didn't want to become someone who panicked every time his partner needed room to breathe. So I did nothing. And told myself that was progress. The next day, she texted in the morning. "Sorry again for last night. Thanks for understanding. Always." Then nothing. All day. I tried to distract myself. Worked late. Cleaned the kitchen twice. Rearranged my bookshelf. Took a walk around the block in the rain without a jacket, just to feel something. Still nothing. By the time the sun set, I had invented 5 possible scenarios in my head. She realized she didn't want this. She was talking to someone else. She got overwhelmed and would ghost me, slowly and politely. I had done something wrong and she didn't know how to say it. Nothing was wrong and I was just scared. Number 5 was the hardest to sit with. She called that night around 10. I almost didn't answer. But I did. "Hi," she said. Her voice was tired. "Hey. I had a meltdown in my car today. Sat in the Target parking lot for 30 minutes crying into a protein bar. Is that what the protein bars are for?" She laughed, weakly. "Apparently. Want to talk about it?" "Not really. I just didn't want you to think I was disappearing." I sat with that. "Thank you," I said. I was trying not to spiral. "How'd that go?" I rearranged my books by genre and emotional damage level. She snorted. "That's horrifying and impressive." We were quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I care about you. That's part of what scared me." I nodded, even though she couldn't see it. "I care about you too," I said. And I'm not asking for more than you can give. Just, don't shut the door. Not yet. I won't, she said. But if I crack a window once in a while, it's not because I want out. It's because I need air. Understood. And we sat there. Two voices in the dark, trying to name something without breaking it. We didn't solve anything that night. But maybe that's the point. Maybe the best kind of closeness isn't solving. It's staying. Showing up when the quiet gets loud and just saying, I hear you. Even if you don't know what to say back. Later, I wrote in my notes app. Not all silence means goodbye. Sometimes it's just the sound of someone catching their breath. You don't have to be fearless. You just have to be willing. I met Cindy's dad on accident. It was a Sunday afternoon, unseasonably warm, and we were walking through a park when her phone rang. She checked the screen, frowned, and answered with a clipped, "Hi." I tried not to listen, but it was hard not to hear. "Yeah, I'm nearby." "Why?" she said. Then a pause. "Now." Another pause. Then, "Okay. I'll be there in 15. She hung up and looked at me with a weird mix of dread and resignation. So, my dad's car battery died. He's parked a few blocks away. I said I'd help jump it. Need a ride? I offered. She hesitated. Sure. But, he doesn't know I'm seeing anyone. I can be invisible, I said. Not with that shirt. It had a cartoon ghost on it and said, "Boo, I'm tired." Her dad was standing next to an old sedan that looked like it had given up sometime during the Bush administration. He was tall, gray-haired, and had that ex-military posture that made my own spine correct itself. "Hey, Dad," Cindy said. "This is, I stepped forward. "I'm just the guy with the jumper cables." He looked at me. Then at Cindy. Then back at me. "Appreciate it," he said. No smile. We got the car running in 10 minutes. Most of it passed in silence, except for the occasional grunt or cable check. Cindy hovered awkwardly, like she wasn't sure which side of the interaction she was supposed to stand on. When the engine finally turned over, he nodded at me. "Thanks." "No problem." Then he turned to Cindy. "So, this the new guy?" She froze. I considered rescuing her, but she spoke before I could. "Yes," she said. "This is him." He looked me up and down. I tried not to flinch. "You good to her?" I swallowed. "Trying to be." He nodded once, sharply. "Then that's all that matters." And just like that, he got in his car and drove off. We stood there, both blinking. "Did that go well?" I asked. She let out a laugh like she'd been holding her breath. "Honestly?" "Yeah." For him, that's practically a hug. Back at my place, we collapsed onto the couch. Cindy curled her legs under her and looked at me. "Thanks for not making that weird." "I thought I did make it weird." She smiled. "You didn't flinch when he asked if you were good to me." I didn't have time to think. Exactly. That stayed with me. That night, as she slept beside me, I kept thinking about the question, are you good to her? Not do you love her? Not are you happy? Not even are you compatible? Just, are you good to her? It was simple. Grounded. Unshakable. And I wasn't sure I'd ever asked myself that about anyone before. Monday morning, Cindy left early. A long day at work ahead. She kissed my forehead before she went. Whispered, "Don't overthink today." So of course I did exactly that. I thought about how quickly I'd let her in. How easily we'd folded into each other's lives. How terrifying it felt. I thought about the first time I saw her. How sure she looked. How sharp. And how I tried to impress her with a joke that became a wound. And I thought about now. How she still flinched when I got too quiet. How I still waited for her to change her mind. We were both carrying something we didn't quite know how to name. That afternoon, my brother texted. "You free for a call later?" "Yeah." "What's up?" "Just want to catch up." "Been thinking." "Okay. Call when you can." At 8:15, my phone rang. We talked for an hour. It was awkward, at first. Then warm. He asked about work, about Cindy. I asked about his new apartment, his cat, the weird roommate situation he'd escaped. Near the end, he said, "You know, I used to think we were just different people. But I think the truth is, we're more alike than I ever admitted." And that scared me. I didn't know what to say to that. So I said, "Me too." And that was enough. When Cindy got back that night, I made us dinner. Simple stuff. Pasta that didn't burn. Garlic bread that only almost caught fire. She sat at the table, watching me. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah. You look like you've been thinking." I talked to my brother. "Oh. It was good." "Weird, but good." She smiled. "I'm glad." After dinner, I handed her a piece of paper. She unfolded it. "Read." Looked up. "You wrote this?" "Yeah." It said, "The people who stay after you show them the worst are the ones worth burning the pasta for." She looked at me for a long time. Then she kissed me. Slow. Certain. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" "For staying. For trying. For letting me in." I held her hand. Same. The last real fight we had started with a misheard sentence and ended with a door half closed. It was a Wednesday. Rain again. Always rain, it felt like. Cindy had just gotten back from a long day at work, one of those days where everything feels like sandpaper. I was trying to be helpful. I reheated leftover curry, dimmed the lights, set her favorite blanket on the couch. I thought I was doing everything right. But somewhere in between sitting down and trying to recap my day, I said something that landed wrong. I don't even remember the exact sentence. Something like, "You're always on edge lately." I meant it gently. I swear I did. She froze. Turned slowly. "Always," she repeated. Wrong word. One syllable too many. "No, I just meant lately you've seemed really." She stood up. "So now I'm difficult? That's what this is?" "No, I didn't say that. You said always. You don't get to say that and pretend it's neutral. I wasn't trying to criticize you, Cindy. I was just trying to check in." Well, it didn't feel like checking in. Silence. Heavy. Sharp. Not the quiet kind we'd learned to sit with. This one had barbs. "I think I'm gonna go," she said, grabbing her coat. "Cindy. I need space." The door didn't slam. But it didn't close gently either. She didn't text the next day. Or the day after. I didn't either. Not out of pride. Not really. More like fear. The kind that makes your stomach knot and your chest ache with every glance at your phone. I kept replaying the moment. That word. The tone. Her face. How easy it is to tear a stitch without even knowing you're tugging on a thread. By Saturday, I was unraveling. My sister came over that afternoon. Uninvited, holding 2 coffees and a bag of muffins. "You look like someone ran over your hope," she said, handing me the bag. I shrugged. "Cindy left Wednesday. We haven't talked since." She nodded, sat down, peeled a muffin open. "Do you want to call her?" "Yeah." "Then why haven't you?" "Because I'm scared I'll say the wrong thing again." She looked at me for a long moment. "Do you love her?" That one landed hard. I hadn't said it out loud yet. Not even to myself. "I think so," I whispered. "Then figure it out." "Because people like her?" They don't come around often. And they don't wait forever. That night, I wrote a letter. Not an email. Not a text. An actual letter. Ink. Paper. Vulnerability. I don't want to fix you. I don't think you need fixing. But I do want to learn how to stand beside you, even when I say the wrong thing. I know I used a word that felt like a verdict. And I'm sorry. Not because it upset you, but because I didn't listen first. If you come back, I'll stop trying to be perfect. I'll just be here. Messy, human, trying. I didn't send it. Not yet. But it was real. And it was mine. Sunday morning. 9:14 a.m. A knock. I opened the door. It was Cindy. No umbrella. Damp hair. Same denim jacket. She didn't say anything at first. Just looked at me. Then, I read the letter. I blinked. I didn't. How? She held up her phone. A photo of the page. The one I'd left on my desk, face up. Next to my unlocked laptop. I came by, she said. Yesterday. You weren't home. The super let me in. Said I looked like a woman on a mission. I didn't know what to say. She stepped inside. Closed the door behind her. I overreacted, she said. But you also hurt me. And I didn't know how to sit with both of those things at the same time. I nodded. I get that. She stepped closer. You said in the letter you don't want to be perfect. That's good. Because I'm tired of pretending I am. I laughed, soft and shaky. Same. She reached into her bag. Pulled out a crumpled envelope. I wrote one too. She handed it to me. I didn't open it right away. Instead, I pulled her in. Held her like I was anchoring us both. And maybe I was. Later, we lay on the floor, side by side. I still get scared, she whispered. Me too. But I'm tired of running. Me too. We looked at the ceiling. The rain had stopped. Somewhere below, a dog barked. A car alarm hiccuped. Life kept happening. And so did we. That night, I opened her letter. I don't want us to be perfect. I want us to be real. To mess up, talk about it, and choose each other anyway. I don't want space to mean distance. I want it to mean grace. Let's not disappear. Let's become. My final note. This isn't the end. It's a door left ajar. A deep breath. A choice made again and again, even when it's hard. And if love lives anywhere, it lives here. In the messy, brave, beautiful almosts we choose to stay inside.